The sky split apart as if torn in two. High above the ground, Chinmo hovered in midair, the sword light in his hand blazing like a falling star, descending upon the world. With a single downward slash, a blinding arc of white radiance crushed the earth below mountain ranges, collapsing beneath the roar of raging spiritual energy. Across from him, Ye Chen did not retreat a single step. The saber in his grip hummed low and deep like an ancient bell echoing from a forgotten age. When he struck, time itself seemed to slow. Saber intent surged forward, tearing through the sword light. Their clash detonated in midair, an earth-shattering explosion that lit up the night sky as bright as day. When the aftershock faded, Chinmo fell. His chest was torn open, his sword slipping from his grasp, disbelief and unwilling fury frozen in his eyes. Ye Chen panted, blood trailing from the corner of his lips, but he knew the battle was over. Or at least, he thought it was. Because the moment Chinmo's body hit the ground, a surge of dark energy seeped from the wound. Demonic chi coiled upward like poisonous smoke, creeping into every strand of dead flesh. Bones began to crack and snap. The corpse that had already drawn its last breath slowly rose to its feet. Chinmo's corpse rose amid the swirling dust. The light that had once filled his eyes was gone, replaced by a thick, pitch-black void. Demonic chi continued to pour from the wound in his chest, wrapping around his body like living tendrils. Shattered bones and torn flesh began to knit themselves back together with sickening cracks and pops. Ye Chen tightened his grip on his saber. He could feel it clearly. What stood before him was no longer the opponent he had just defeated. A crushing pressure descended upon the space around them. This demonic energy, it was conscious. Chinmo, or rather the corpse being controlled, slowly lifted its head. The corner of his mouth twisted into a grotesque smile. The aura that had previously rivaled that of a martial emperor now surged violently, breaking past the limits of any ordinary living being. So, this was the true purpose. Understanding dawned on Ye Chen. The clash between two prodigies had merely been a prelude. Something had long ago planted that demonic chi inside Chinmo, waiting for this very moment. Just then, the earth in the distance split open. A grotesque entity, like a colossal fruit, pushed its way up from below. Roots writhed outward like living veins. It tore open a gaping mouth and swallowed the demonized body in a single instant. This was not the corruption of one man. It was the awakening of a force. After devouring Chinmo's body, the grotesque creature shrank inward. Its glossy black shell pulsed and throbbed as if digesting an immense surge of energy. The demonic chi surrounding it thickened until even the air warped and twisted under its weight. Ye Chen did not hesitate. Forming a hand seal, he summoned the primordial divine pagoda, which tore through space and descended from above. Ancient light cascaded from the tower's body, forming a barrier as heavy as heaven and earth themselves, crushing down upon the abomination. The demonic origin spawn shrieked, roots lashing wildly, trying to rip apart the barrier and escape. Phoenix flames could not burn it. Saber chi could not pierce the demonic armor encasing its form. Only when the spatial force tightened and the void sealed shut did the creature finally get dragged into the pagoda, its roar cut off mid-scream. The wind fell silent. But Ye Chen knew this was only the overture. In the far distance, pillars of light suddenly flared across the sky, colliding in violent bursts. Waves of primal energy rolled outward, shaking the earth in relentless tremors. That direction was the holy temple. Ye Chen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his gaze darkening. If the demonic origin spawn had merely been bait, then the one pulling the strings had to be at the very heart of that battlefield. Then it's my turn. This was no longer a duel between two prodigies. It was the beginning of a war between the mortal realm and the demon world. When Ye Chen was less than 100 miles from the Holy Temple battlefield, a beam of heavenly radiance tore through the clouds, illuminating half the sky. He came to an abrupt halt midair. The grand formation had been activated. At the heart of the battlefield stood Elder Yan, his silver hair whipping wildly in the storm of demonic chi. 3 grand elders formed seals around him, ancient spirit inscriptions weaving together into a colossal array that sealed in the demon sovereign He Ye. Heaven and earth seemed severed from their natural flow. A thunderous shout resounded. Heaven's annihilation's sacred array. Light poured down from the 9th heaven, like a blade forged from the laws of the heavenly Tao itself. Demonic chi was forced back, and the connection between He Ye and his dark origin appeared to be severed. The demon sovereign's body trembled, fury flashing across his face for the first time. Hope ignited across the battlefield. Ye Chen could feel it clearly. If this strike landed in full, that great demon might truly be destroyed. But just as the heavenly radiance was about to descend upon its target, the space behind He Ye shattered like a mirror struck by a hammer. From that fracture, an ancient black tower slowly emerged. The Chaos Soul Tower. World force emanated from its structure, evolving into a self-contained domain that directly withstood the descending heavenly light. The fragile spark of hope began to waver. The enemy was not merely a great demon. He had brought an entire world with him. The heavenly radiance collided with the Soul Tower. In that instant, the sky itself seemed to warp. Sacred light pressed downward with crushing force, yet with every inch it advanced, the world force emanating from the Chaos Soul Tower twisted and devoured it piece by piece. The two supreme powers struggled violently in midair, forming spiraling spatial vortices that tore the earth below into shreds. Elder Yan spat out a mouthful of blood. The three grand elders surrounding him felt their organs quake simultaneously. Cracks spread through the ancient inscriptions of the Grand Formation. Though they had severed the demon sovereign's link to his demonic origin, they had never anticipated that he possessed a sacred artifact capable of manifesting a world of its own. Ye threw his head back and laughed, the demonic chi around him, surging even more violently. You think cutting off my source is enough to kill me? With a single motion of his hand, the soul tower rotated. World force cascaded downward like a tidal wave. One elder was blasted out of the formation core, the Dharma avatar behind him shattering into fragments. A second dropped to his knees in midair, meridians rupturing as blood sprayed from his mouth. The grand array trembled on the verge of collapse. From afar, Ye Chen witnessed it all. He understood clearly, if the Heaven's Annihilation Sacred Array fell, nothing would remain to stop the demon sovereign. And worse still, the seal at Dragonbone Abyss was beginning to tremble in rhythm with the surging demonic power. An explosion rang out as if heaven and earth themselves had collapsed. The Heaven's Annihilation Sacred Array shattered. Ancient spirit inscriptions burst apart into fragments of fading light, extinguishing one by one in the sky. The three grand elders were hurled from the formation core, their bodies falling like dying stars. Elder Yan held his hand seal until the very last second, but the world force from the Chaos Soul Tower crushed what remained of their defenses. The heavenly radiance dissipated. Once more, the sky was swallowed by demonic clouds. Ye stepped out from the center of the collision. His robes were torn, yet his aura still surged like a bottomless abyss. The Soul Tower hovered behind him, rotating slowly, releasing waves of energy that pressed down upon the entire battlefield. The Holy Temple had fallen. Those who survived were either gravely wounded or already being eroded by demonic chi. A few began to tremble, the whites of their eyes gradually turning black. Corruption spread like a plague. From the distant depths of the earth, a low tremor echoed. Another crack split open across the seal at Dragonbone Abyss. Ye Chen came to a halt in midair. For the first time since entering the battlefield, he felt a hollow chill in his chest. If even the Heaven's Annihilation Sacred Array could not kill him, then who could? Beneath a sky devoured by demonic clouds, Ye Chen descended onto the battlefield. Ye immediately sensed the aura of the primordial divine pagoda. A flicker of cruel interest flashed through his eyes. You are the variable. Ye Chen did not answer. He looked at the fallen figures scattered across the ground at Elder Yan, struggling to rise amid the shattered remains of the Grand Array. And he understood one thing clearly: Ye could not be destroyed by conventional means. If he could not be killed, then he would be sealed. The primordial divine pagoda rose into the air, releasing a profound abyssal world force. It was not an attack. It was the opening of another space, a world contained within the tower itself. Ye burst into laughter, the Chaos Soul Tower behind him spinning to meet the challenge. The two world forces collided, splintering space like cracking glass. Gritting his teeth, Ye Chen stepped directly into the heart of the collision, using his own body as the formation core. Blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. Golden light across his skin began to fracture. You think you can suppress me? Ye roared. The pagoda's world force tightened, dragging the demon sovereign inch by inch toward the inner realm of the tower. Demonic chi retaliated wildly, tearing through Ye Chen's meridians. This was the final gamble. Either the demon sovereign would be sealed, or the two of them would perish together. Space shattered. At the heart of the storm where two worlds collided, Ye Chen roared, the golden light around his body blazing to its absolute limit. The primordial divine pagoda expanded like a sky-devouring black hole, layers of world force stacking upon one another as they crushed down on demon sovereign Ye. The Chaos Soul Tower trembled violently, struggling to manifest its own domain in resistance. But the moment Ye Chen used his very soul as the sealing key, the balance began to tip. Impossible, Ye howled. The spiraling world force burrowed inward, tearing his demonic body apart into fragments of dense black energy, forcibly dragging them into the pagoda's inner realm. A detonation shook the 9 heavens. Then everything fell silent. The demonic clouds slowly dispersed. The soul tower plummeted from the sky, its light extinguished. Ye Chen dropped to one knee in midair, blood soaking his robes. Yet behind him, the primordial divine pagoda still hovered within it. The demon sovereign had been suppressed. The battlefield was saved. But from the distant depths of Dragonbone Abyss came the faint sound of another crack. Far beneath the earth, a pair of ancient eyes slowly opened. The demon sovereign had only been a chess piece, and the true game had just begun.